My name is Carol Dawn Frances McGann. The McGann is my family name. Like a lot of women in Jamaica, I added it to my married name. Thus, the Frances McGann. Frances is my husband's name. I was born in Kingston, Jamaica in March 1944. So I've been around for a long time. I lived in Jamaica till I was 24 years old and came to England, Surrey, in October 1968. But culture shock when I came here. I thought I'd stepped back in history about 50 years. I couldn't believe the housing. That was the greatest shock of all.
My name, Sade Barrows Bewumi. Jamaican and Nigerian heritage. Watch me respond to the ones who came before me. The ones who left their imprint on my distorted history. My mother was born in Jamaica, 1971. But that's not where it all began.
In Jamaica, you tend to have domestic help. There was no such thing. If you're very wealthy, then you had butlers and charwomen, but the average person, professional or not, didn't have people. So for the first time in my life, I had to wash clothes. Never. I wasn't desperately good at it. And as to cooking, I was hopeless. The first year of my marriage life was spent with a recipe book propped on the table. I hope I have improved. I didn't even hear the term Windrush generation until about 5 years ago. Never even heard of it. It wasn't used.
Windrush wasn't used? Or was it abused? Abused like the black excellence that works for less than half of what they are worth. She was, they were, profited off, disposed of. The truth was hidden. Secrets hidden underneath the concrete we place our feet on. Each delicate step uncovers more. Secrets stacked beneath the buildings they built upon. These buildings were never built for us. Windrush. What is a hometown when you are told that that hometown was no longer yours in the first place? What is a hometown when you are told that that hometown was never meant to be yours? Windrush.
I knew that people from the Caribbean migrated to England, the United States of America, and Canada. I know that there were people chose differently where they went to, either because of family or because of things like education, where they preferred American Canada to England, which is all because we'd gone to English-based schools in Jamaica at the time, not American-based schools, but that's how it went. The Windrush thing came about by accident, the term, when there was the scandals of about 4 years ago. Now people forget that people who had come here as babies in the 60s and 70s came on the parents' passport, yeah? The passport the parents came on was then a British passport and was stamped with given indefinite leave to remain and work in the United Kingdom. That passport was not stamped for the children, it was stamped for the parents. Every High Commissioner from about the 1970s have been telling the Caribbean people, get yourselves regularized if you didn't come on your own passport. One day it might give you trouble, but a lot of people didn't believe them. I'm British. I came here at 6 months. I went to school here. I'm working here. I'm paying my NIS and I've got a registration with my doctor. What do you mean I'm not British? I mean, I don't know anything about Jamaica. I came here at 6 months or 2 years, whatever, and have never been back. People who had worked, particularly in the NHS and lots of other places, for in excess of 30 years, were suddenly told they had no jobs.
Scandals, scandals. Boats descending into generations of trauma, like Windrush. Friction ripples through the bloodline, filtering into the veins, dripping with confusion about why these decisions were made. It formulates in the mother and father's capillary, and that then trickles down to the daughters, and that gets passed down to the sons, and then that gets trickled down to the granddaughters and grandsons. Posterity echoing the pain of its source. Is this what we call a corrupt system built upon flaws? Underpaying its black citizens, knowing that they can afford to carry their dynasty forward. Do you know what generational trauma is? It's like a virus lying dormant in the cells of its host, limitlessly. This is heavy. Heavy for the ones who helped to carry the weight of this country. Sacrifices were made to build, yet still left hungry. But now I realize that this country is already broken.
They've been taking their taxes all these years, but there was no joined up thinking. Nobody said, how can it be legal? You've worked and paid your taxes. You've got your mortgage on your house. You're registered with a GP. In 1972, the Home Office actually told all immigrants in England, that they could apply for naturalization, British citizenship, if they fulfill whatever criteria it was. But it took about 3 or 4 awful scandals for them to realize that, and that's when the Windrush became a, newspaper headline.
That's 3 or 4 awful scandals. They had no jobs. They stole our jobs, built off the backs of kings and queens, deceived by the country that has blackness embedded in our identity. Our identity was taken away, stripped away. Taxes had been paid.
They brought up this hostile environment system. The politicians, of whom our previous Prime Minister was then the Home Secretary, introduced a system to suit the people who were terrified, in quotation marks, of immigrants, that they wanted to have a hostile environment to immigrants. Immigrants who were not legally here should return to the countries of origin. Now, it wasn't meant or designed for the Windrush generation. It was a blanket term. However, nobody seemed to realize about the law of unintentional consequences.
My mother's experience was an unintentional consequence. They ripped her away like she wasn't human. If she is an immigrant, then what does that make me? Her light filters through to our internal colony. I watched my mother's light slowly burn out. And it's not just about my family. It's about the people who fought so fearlessly to protect our mother country.
But in the 50s, 40s and 50s, a lot of what in Jamaica was termed middle class families thought their girls would get married. It's just, so it was less girls who went to university or higher education of some sort. Girls went and did a commercial course, stenography and shorthand and And so you worked in the civil service until you got married. And of course, once you got married, then you resigned. Or you could stay till you got pregnant, then you had to resign. You couldn't work in the civil service then with children.
At the age of 40, she looked forward to swimming in the Sea of St. Lucia. She looked forward to dancing, fetting, eating. Bright orange mango speckled with purity, speckled with beauty, look her in the eyes. Bakes that had been fried with pockets of flavoured fish. She takes a bite. Phone calls exchanged with a sweet, I love you, I miss you. Have a great time, Mum. You have worked so hard, Mum. You deserve it, Mum. She was only at the age of 40. 8-year-old me counting down the days until Caribbean patties are sent home. 1 week had gone by, 2 weeks had gone by, counting down the minutes, counting down the hours, and the clock ticks within me. And she was on her way home. She gets to the airport, people scattering past, hustle, bustle, the white noise surrounds her, but her thoughts amount to mental images of her family, her children. She wonders. She walks. She loses her passport. She scurries, she runs, she can't find it. Where is it? She looks. Immigration officer says to her, "Hello, madam, how are you today?" My mum explains the situation. He responds, "Can you prove that you are not an illegal immigrant?" My mum begins to take a deep breath. He responds, "Go to the Jamaican embassy because you cannot come to the UK." My mum begins to plead, her crown begins to shift, her crown begins to drift, her voice croaking in the midst of it all. "But I have worked here for over 20 years, she says. "Are you sure it's not illegally?" She crumbles, she cries, she hurts a little more inside. His words translate as, "You don't belong here." And that means we don't belong here. Embedded, ingrained, outsider, ashamed, she was stuck there for 4 months. That's 4 months worth of work that she had lost. That's 4 months worth of mortgage fees. 4 girls to provide for, so many legal fees. When she got stranded, it broke my family. It cut it out from the inside out, slicing into its core. It's like someone had taken our heart and squeezed it like it wasn't still pumping blood. When she got stranded in Jamaica, there were no lifeguards to bring her back to land. When she got stranded in Jamaica, her dignity scattered on the grounds of her mother country.
I'm Faye Lane, and I'm married to Compton Lane, and I'm from Georgetown, Guyana. Now I'm living here in England, and I have 2 daughters, Karen and Susan, and 4 grandsons and 2 great-grandchildren.
I'm Compton Lane, born in Georgetown, Guyana, but came to the UK at the age of 19. Ex-Royal Air Force, joined the Royal Air Force and served in Cyprus, Singapore, Yemen. I did 12 years in total. Left the Air Force and joined the civil service. Continued to go to countries like Hong Kong. The Air Force then would put you through college, And again, I was advised, you select a workable trade. I went into communications. So they'll send you off to Compton Bassett, a communications college, where you learnt your skill as well as your normal education process. So it was a two-in-one advantage. I gained an education, gained a workable trade. For when I left the Air Force, I could use it. Work, I had to work because didn't have a lot of money. I had to be self-sufficient. Again, the realization there's no mother or dad to rely on. Hence again, like the little cliche, sink or swim. Joining the Air Force made it easy for me than probably some other young fellows who had to go having houses. The Air Force gave me a house, gave me food, you know, gave me clothes, college, you know. So for me, that was a very, very easy route to take. So. Girls today are more confident, you know, more independent. In my time, but I wouldn't say subservient, but it's a different era. You know, men probably had certain prerogatives, but today with the independent young women, and times have changed. Evolution, a natural process.
I just came from church and his friend brought him and introduced him to me. And that time his leg was broken and he was like this on a motorbike, one of these big red motorbikes, and we had a chat in front of my gate. And then, you know, things just start to work after that.
I think the thing is the systems are different. In the youngsters today, it's a different era, everything's different, their thinking is different, and it's difficult to reconcile the two processes.
And the other thing, he was in the RAF, so he used to work away, work in London, in Whitehall, and he didn't come home until weekends. So I was on my own with the kids, so we had no problem.
We were fortunate enough to work abroad a lot. And a change of scenery, a change of friendship, there was no set routine. We were in Cyprus, and we did 4 years in Singapore, and I went to Aden, Yemen.
I was on my own.
In the Air Force, we moved around. She went stationed in Wales.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a combination of these things.
Oh, yes.
Because my life has been so
Hectic.
hectic, it took away the boredom, took away the, you know.
Last night I heard the angels singing, chorus of cherubs calling, praising the life you're living, full of self-sacrifice and giving. I know it's nowhere done. I still want to shout about all the victories you've won. One evening won't do to give justice to your story, a life of care and patience, hard work and earnest, and all immersed in God's glory. Your kindness was obliterary, your friends and diligence and legendary. Your family sent you from Guyana. You came to England, the biker dude became your husband. 12 years in the Air Forces, lots of stability, then civil service, lots of communication courses. What took you overseas? New friends to make, new people to please. No parents to support you along the way, you had to keep working to provide every day. God was first in your life. He would never let you down. Your daughters were precious. They were the children in your crown. Thanks for braving that ferocious sea and giving us a life of better opportunity. Thanks for the many sacrifices you made, which gave us greater possibility. Made of such special stuff, so much love, but yet so tough. Your Caribbean childhood taught you life was no toy. Yet amidst the struggles, we see you possessing the secret of joy. I said last night I heard the angels singing, a chorus of cherubs calling, praising the life you're living full of self-sacrifice and giving.
Well, my name is Dorothy Evans. I'm from Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica I was born in St. Anne's, but I grew up in St. Catherine. And then but my mother sent me off to Kingston to board with my aunt when I was about 13 to finish my schooling there. And that's where I left and came to this country. Well, we visit each other backward and forwards. You know, we go to the country to visit. I remember going to the country to visit my mom, and because my dad was over here at the time, and that sort of thing. I wasn't surprised because I used to see pictures of England, and I remember seeing pictures, and all I could remember seeing snow and the big long houses. I was going to take a photograph and bring it where I was living, because all the houses was long and white, you know what I'm saying? In London, Leithwaite Road I used to live at, that was called, and the houses are still there. When I go up and visit my sister sometime, I remember I said to her, I'm going up to see Leithwaite Road, and I used to go up and, you know, since I live up here, you know, yeah. Do exercise. I used to do a lot of exercise. From I got to the age of 40, I started exercising. I think the exercise helped me, the exercise and the steam, because I really believe in that. And I used to do a lot of walking as well before I got to the stage where I can't do much walking anymore. So I don't. I remember having my first boyfriend I had. I remember when I was in town, and I went to the country to spend time with my mom because it was holiday time. And I probably was about 18 at the time. And he came over. I don't know how he found where my mom lived, because it's a far away, you know what I mean? He came to Bogwalk, and then he had to get a transport to further up, and then to West Prospect where we used to live. And then I didn't even introduce him to my mom. They said to me, someone's out here to you, and I just walked him down the road, and we went back out, and didn't say nothing. I didn't know how to do it, because there's no manual. Your parents don't tell you anything about that. I keep thinking that many times, you know, as when my daughter get to the age where she, you know what I mean, and I talk to her about certain things. My mom never talked to me about anything like that, so. It was, you know, like a mistake. You find me, sort of thing.
I see you in school, in St. Anne's, reading at your desk. A parish in the midst of the island, the garden of Jamaica, scenic beauty at its best. A parish bustling with the excitement of Caribbean trade, pregnant with the spoils of farming and all the products they make. A parish that's felt the warmth of burning spear and has a verse in Bob Marley's redemption song. I see you reading about the mother country, believing this is the place where you belong. The books tell dreams of big long houses with streets paved with gold. There's no poor people, and everybody is well-to-do. There's idyllic, snowy-filled streets, and it's really not that cold. The Queen walks around your Shakespearean England, waving at her subjects in the street. The roads are clean and tidy, and everyone has more than enough to eat. You can't always find truth in a book. When you came, you saw poor people, whites doing jobs you just couldn't perceive. Some places of gross deprivation, and you realize how you've been naive. These people aren't perfect. This place was all you were led to believe. I see you rushing out to meet your suitor, avoiding your mother's glare. Mama didn't tell you how to behave. I know. I've been there. I had to learn I could do just as well as a white man. I had to learn to be expected to fail and never plan. I had to learn I can be anything I want to be. I had to learn through slavery sweat we built this country. I had to learn we come from a line of kings and queens. I had to learn we invented medicine and the first flying machines. I had to learn to be a good brother and a responsible dad, even if that's something I never had. I had to learn not to carry a knife to feel safe. I had to learn to solve my problems without being a violent disgrace. I had to learn to build businesses, save money and invest. I had to learn to rise above my racist abuse, even if they only jest. I had to learn it's my time. You've laid the foundation for me. I had to learn to move my people forward and progress this universal black family. You can't always find truth in a book.
My full name is Una, UNA, Joyce Green, but I'm called by Joyce mainly. I went to school as Joyce, but most people who know me in Gloucester doesn't know my name is Una. But all on business papers, it's got to be Una Joyce. And I was born in Jamaica, St. Catherine, Watermount. I came to England at the age of 17. I remember coming. My father was already here, and I had a stepmother, and my father brought me over, and I was 17. So, got here. I remember when we got off the plane. We arrived in Gloucester by taxi. But I just tracked back a bit because I was 17 and there were two other girls under 18. Those days you weren't allowed to travel on your own. You were underage. So there was an elderly gentleman who'd been here and come back home, was our escort. So we had three girls. They're still around, and me. After then we got off the plane and I think we had a train to come to Gloucester, and then I must remember I arrived on the 1st of December 1959. Honest, it's coming up nearly another year. And we got to Gloucester and I thought, where am I? It wasn't even as good a day as it is now. It was, I described it. It was dark in the afternoon, early afternoon, it was dark. There were some little white things coming down. And I thought, whatever is that? It wasn't snow, I got to find out later on. It was sleet. And of course, my father went home and I went in and my father, the house he lived was his house, big house. And my bedroom had a fireplace. I have to think about it because it's such a long. My bedroom had an open fire, and the fire was going, and I remember pushing the bed close to the fire, and all the sparks were flying, and I thought, I'm going to burn this. Sorry. No, I can laugh about it. But it was so horrible, it was so cold. And and everything, the food was different, and everything was different. And the first time I saw snow, it was a bright morning, the snow had fell, I went out, and I remember doing like this onto the wall, and it was so cold, I think there must have been, I didn't know what it was then, it looked like a frost, and the snow was really solid. And and the sun was shining, and I thought, it was cold sun. I couldn't believe that it was so cold, yeah. But so really, as you can guess, I didn't live in Jamaica all my life.
Yes, my name is Carlton Green, and I'm originally from Jamaica. I was born in the parish of St. Catherine, just like Joyce, maybe a different district. There is Watermount, there is Brownstown. She's from Watermount, I'm from Brownstown, but it's just neighboring districts. I left Jamaica in 1957 and settled in Gloucester. I went to school in Jamaica as a youngster, 2 schools, One was Point Hill Baptist School, they call it, and the other was Watermount All Age School. And I came to England to seek a better life, so to speak, at the mother country, because we always see England as the mother country. We always thought that. That was our history. And I could not understand that when we came to this country, people could not understand why we are here. Somebody took me to a firm, signed me on, I got a job. And that was 15 miles away from Gloucester. Now, I worked in that capacity for how many years? Six and a half years, I think it was. Starting from the shop. When we said the shop floor, we're talking about sweeping the floor now. Not a foreman on the shop floor, but an unskilled person. Because to me, it didn't matter what we do then, as long as there was a pay pocket on Friday.
As long as there's a pay packet on Friday. You are his water mount, he is your brownstone. With this foundation, you built your English home. He is your rock, and you are his solid ground. 17-year-old chaperone, taxi, Gloucester bound. Such a long way from the Caribbean sun, those exotic steel bands, replaced with bedroom log fires and garden laced with cold sand. You could understand the hostility. You were British like them. They just lived in the mother country. As long as there's a pay packet Friday. Come to the mother country, there's plenty of jobs and opportunities here for you. I mean, there's plenty of vacancies, plenty of choices. I mean, there's really nothing that you cannot do. Look at it like Dick Whittington coming to London to see the streets bathed with gold. Who knows? Perhaps you become the mayor of London if you can put up with the rain and the cold. We'll be bad managers and liars. People with letters out to our deal. We'll become rich and successful. And let our family back home share our fame. When my people arrived, they found the white English were playing a different game. Oh, there were plenty of jobs. But for those with the right coloured face, and how my people were treated, was nothing short of an utter disgrace. As long as there's a pay packet Friday, St. Catherine or Gloucester, your queen was English, yet the signs still glared at you. No dogs, no blacks, no Irish. Your people were strong, you were secure, you knew who you were and what you would do. You fought the abuse and you marched on through. You came to call England to have a better life, and this is what you were going to do. Thank you. No, I mean, thank you. You are the tower, the foundation. You led the way. It's what you did which gives us what we have today. As long as there's a pay packet Friday.
My name is April Rose Gaynor, and I'm from St. Ann in Jamaica. Life in Jamaica was good. We had crops, we had corn, coffee, most vegetable. We had somebody who comes and support us, and my dad on the farm. We had, people who helps. Oh, the diet, everything was. The diet was natural. Everything was grown, and you had it. It was prepared by our parents or us. We had to do everything, so we had to learn how to do things. But home, we grow it. It would be there. They plant it because it's like the onion, the seeds, and everything was cultivated on the land. So it was there, but here you had to go to the shop and get it. It wasn't too bad, really. We have like outside kitchen, and it's more like built up like you see where they have barbecue here. We had that, and they would have on the top made with bricks and the wood on top, and then underneath, and they would you could bake your bread underneath. This was like a oven, and they got a stick and heated. So you cook both in and out, but it's not always everybody who have the inside kitchen. They had a kitchen outside, and they'd cook out on the like barbecue.
That time in Jamaica was so good. That time in Jamaica, we sat around the table, cross-legged playing dominoes, sharing stories about the times that we used to play red light, green light in the backyard, running around like headless chickens like we didn't have a care in the world. That time in Jamaica, there was no light in the house, but we had black joy. It shined so radiantly on the faces of my sisters. Their eyes, their smiles like beaming beacons of hope, planted by the exquisite hands of my family. We were just reminiscing on the joy. A pot of cock soup served across the room, prepared by me and my aunties, passed down from generations of self-made recipes. This was black beauty. The meat was washed by yours truly. Lemon with a side of salt water, seasoned with 1,000 intricate spices from all around our mother country. This was the mother country. The smell of spices travel around my nostrils, leaving me full and replenished. Just like the black skin that I wear as a badge of honor, this is culture. History was hidden away from me, but nobody could take those memories away from her or me. That time in Jamaica was so good. Richness was cultivated on this land, never spiceless, never bland. She focuses on what we had, not what we lost. People to support, help, hold down the fort, carry the torch as if it's been lit by our ancestors. When she speaks, she passes it down to me. Here is me holding the torch whilst I acknowledge the ones who came before me.
My name is Martita Hatcher. I was born in Falmouth in Jamaica and in 1946, and I came to England in 1965 to train as a nurse. I mean, I remember all my Jamaican food. I still have it now. I put coconut milk in everything. It's in my porridge in the morning. Coconut milk goes into that. It goes into rice and peas. It goes into almost everything. And I even buy the coconut drinks as well. I remember what I used to absolutely love was rundown. I think it's mackerel or something like that, and it took days to prepare, days. And I can't describe it. You'd have had to have rundown. Food, I very much miss the food. And all the fruit, I mean, there's so much you can't get here. It's just unbelievable what you don't get here. Well, we have umpteen varieties of bananas for a start, all different from each other. It's only about that big. I think they're San Michel and so on. Well, mangoes, different mangoes, East Indian mango, Bombay mango, Hairy mango, common mango, avocado, whole different tastes from here. I buy them at a West Indian shop if I can because they're completely different from, your South African and wherever else they're buying them. Singing, the singing was amazing. My dad loved singing. He would stand up there belting out the songs. Some churches, they had the little pump organ. Some churches, the one with the 3-hour service, it was pipe organ, but somebody was at the back doing the bellows to make that back. It was very enriching, the church. I rather liked it, even though it was quite a lot.
Her coconut tree stems from her experience. Her remembering the years of her adolescence. She stands strong and her branches never break, even though the weather in this country is very different. My grandmother was a nurse too. She was always medicating us with her rice and peas. Her food like a prescription that only contained natural remedies. I remember walks to the green shop. She would hold my hand and I would watch her curiously. She always got her meat from that shop and I never really understood it. It wasn't until I grew older that I could really taste the difference. I guess when you've been fed by queens, it's easy to pick apart the ripe and the unripe. Food and fruit were really prominent in my childhood. My grandmother would put only the best in my packed lunch, and when she would get ready for church, she would always say to me, "Sade, look after your things." And she would place her clothes on so delicately, with her pink rose lipstick and her straw hat laced with ribbons and complexity. She would sing gospel hymns and tell me that Jesus was my Redeemer. My ears would listen and her eyes would glisten and our mouths would exchange hymns together. When you have memories like that to cling to, it's easy for the good to outweigh the bad. Windrush is a generational pattern, but our queens made it work. And I guess that's what inspires me. It's the hope that I will have half the strength that they did. So this is my response. This is my response to the woman behind the deceit and mistreat, to the woman who paved the way for a young black woman like me.
That poverty causes a lot of trouble. A lot of people weren't born and set out to be criminals and miscreants. Circumstances make you cross that line. Once I go too far over, it's hard to come back. And so I said, I'd rather poor man. And what I say is, yes, the Jamaica of my youth that I remember, really great. It went down in a spiral, particularly in the 1980s and 90s. It started getting better, interestingly enough, although it's stalled at the moment. And that last verse which said, look, the Jamaica I remember is going to go back to the Jamaica I knew in my youth. People are going to recover their pride in their island. They are going to recover the belief that which we had on Independence Day in 1962. We believed then, I was a schoolgirl then, and raised the Jamaica flag, or did I lower it? I've forgotten which one. No, I lowered the British flag. Somebody else raised the Jamaican one. We believed we were invincible. We could do anything, that we were going to, I don't know if you know the term, we little but we talawa. We could do things way above our size. We had, after all, produced world-beating scientists. Athletes, obviously, one remembers. Music, naturally. People forget the writers and dramatists as well. But so many outstanding things that, people think, oh, Jamaica is just reggae or crime. Rubbish. The university there is world beaten, for example, in research. That's where I developed my love of research on sickle cell anemia. I wrote my BA thesis on that.
The blades tore his clothes and pressed deeply through the surface of his skin. The assailant tried to grab the knife. The aggressor pulled it out and then violently pushed it back in. Blood left his crumpled body and his hands grasped at his crimson-soaked shirt. He cried out as he fell to the floor. I'm cold, really cold. Help, I'm really hurt. The last breath left his body, his cold heart gave way. Another young man has lost his life on another pointless day. How many young people have been killed this year? How many of our future will have no past? We will heal, but where did this poison begin? Poverty and desperation are the mother and father of crime. We trace this poison back to Jamaica. It's there they're having the worst time. Things are bleak if you don't work and you don't eat, no social security, only begging from street to street. Jamaica we left is not the Jamaica today. It went down in the 80s and the 90s. But we will rise again. We're little, but we're tallow up. We believe we're invincible. We've accomplished so much. We will rise. Be proud, be bold, be strong, but because we've come a long way. Be strong, carry on. It's what we've done in the past that makes us able to stand here today. Be proud, be bold. We've already put West Indians on the map. We've changed the world with records and music. We've made award-winning movies that don't take any crap. We've written plays and painted and performed poems, sang songs which have made the world think. Our scientists and our nurses have been this world's missing link. You fought and you died for this country as slaves and free men. Your passion and your faith will take us all to heaven. You made marks in politics and you sat on world councils, and our sporting heroes have taken us to the Olympics. We have the fastest men in the world. You've weightlifted 7 times your body's capacity. Be proud, be bold. Don't you know you come from a long line of kings and queens? You were the first great civilization. Science and academia and medicine are based on your dreams. We've had debates and performances and we listen to how we feel. Now let's make things right. Let's do something concrete and real. Be bold, be strong. This is just not another scheme. Can we really move forward and build it on our collective self-esteem? Be bold, be strong. Let's put good vibes in this place. It's time to have fun and belong. No more knives and guns in somebody's face. Don't let them go mad, or literally mad. Struggling to find who they are. Let's see lots of black art and sculpture so they don't have to look too far. Be bold, be strong. Let's encourage justice and fairness to all. Let's hold each other up, lest some of us fall. It's your time. I might not get there with you, but let it be done. It's our time. Let's build a legacy for generations to come. Be bold, be strong, rise up and stand up for the right. Rise up and be doctors. You were the first, it's your birthright. Rise up and be judges and lawyers and fight for real justice and make it outright. Rise up and be entrepreneurs, big business awaits your expertise. Rise up and be creative doctors. Let's see some black faces in those brochures, please. Rise up and be community leaders, take control and do what is right. Rise up and be filmmakers and set Netflix in your sight. Rise up and be engineers who are the first to make bridges in the original plane. Rise up and be executives to boardroom to do with some spicy ideas. It's a little mundane. Rise up and be preachers and inspire it and tell it how it is. Rise up and be prime ministers. This country is your business. Rise up and be scientists and inventors. There's really nothing you cannot do. Rise up and be writers and create a world where dreams come true. Rise up and be spiritual leaders. Morals and decency will have a place. Rise up and be teachers and mentors and really change this place. Rise up and be sporting heroes. Your discipline and your passion and your skill. Rise up, I said, rise up, I said, rise up! Be mighty black man and woman and accomplish all ye well.
you.